I don't know if y'all been paying attention or not, but the West Coast and East Coast rappers are going at each other's necks right now. Like, it's just been a constant back and forth, and this has mostly been led by Joey, whose full name I'm not going to say for the sake of this video because, I'm trying to keep it family friendly, somewhat safe. I still got a 9 to 5. I'm not making all my money off YouTube just yet, so make sure y'all sub up. I got mouths to feed. I got 4 baby mamas and 3 kids, bro, so make sure y'all hitting that sub button. But yeah, probably by the time you're watching this video, maybe like 10 diss tracks have been dropped since I've recorded it, because these guys are just constantly going back and forth. Since January 1st, it's been non-stop, and as of recently, it's really picked up over the last like 48 hours or so. At least 3 disses have been dropped by like 3 different people, so it's insane. But one thing has been clear since the start of this beef, and that's not going to change from the start all the way up until this eventual beef ends, and it's that Joey wants Kendrick. That's what this is all about. It doesn't matter what anyone says. It doesn't matter what anybody on the West Coast Joey wants Kendrick. Going against Daylight and Vaughn and Reason, like, it's cool. It's competition. It's fun. They're all rapping. They're doing well. And Joey's, enjoying himself. He's showing, his true colors. He's showing how great of a lyricist he is. But at the end of the day, this has been and will always be about him getting that Kendrick matchup. He's wanted Kendrick since Control. He's waited over a decade to finally interact with Kendrick, get that response from Kendrick. And we're this deep into it, and we still haven't gotten that response yet. So at this point, we have to start asking ourselves, when does Kendrick have to respond? What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Paying. Today I'm back with another video, and in this video we're going to be talking about at what point does Kendrick have to respond. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. First things first, this beef has been amazing for rap fans, especially the fans who always complain about, oh, these new rappers don't really rap. Where are the lyrics? Where's the lyricists at? What does hip hop come to? The mumble rap trash. Like, that type of rap fan, if you're not paying attention to what's going on right now, you're just completely out of the loop, because this is exactly what you would want. This is what you should be feasting off of, because this is a bunch of guys going at each other lyrically. Everything matters lyrically. Nothing else really matters right now. And that's exactly what that crowd of people have been crying about for like 20 years now. Everyone really deserves a round of applause for what's been going on so far. Joey, Vaughn, Daylight, CJ Fly, Reason, AZ, Kai Cash. I feel like I'm taking attendance with all these names I'm saying, but all these guys have been giving us nothing but bars for the entire year. And what's even better about this beef is that we haven't really crossed any super unreturnable lines to where it's like now the beef has gone from just rapping to these guys really want to hurt each other. I mean, outside of that like one Daylight bar, I feel like everything's remained relatively rap. There's been disses back and forth, questions about character and what you've really done and what you're really about. But I think so far we've remained relatively safe, and we've been at this for over like 15 songs or so now, and that's got to be like some sort of record in hip hop to have this many diss tracks without any like real active threats of like real violence. Like, of course they talk about being tough, but like I'm talking about like, you know what I mean. You get what I'm saying. Outside of that like one Daylight bar, these guys are just focusing on the sport and the art that is rap. Joey has wanted rap smoke with Kendrick for like over a decade now at this point. Like, he's been constantly saying this man's name, and it's gotten to a point where people are calling him a clout chaser. And, I do agree to an extent. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's clear as day that Kendrick is mountains and leagues above Joey when it comes to popularity, notoriety, acclaim, all that stuff. And being engaged with, the hottest guy in rap right now, and arguably the hottest guy in music period, maybe one of the hottest acts in music period right now, would definitely be beneficial for Joey's career. However, I do believe that Joey does want to legitimately prove that he is the best rapper in the world. And when I say rapper, one of the best lyricists, like, that is what Joey wants to prove more than anything to me. Of course, getting the glamour and the attention and the billboard and the money and the accolade, like, that would be great. But I really do believe that in his heart of hearts, Joey wants to prove he's the best rapper on the planet. And he believes that Kendrick is the guy that has the title of best rapper on the planet. And he's been the guy that's had that title for years, at least in the opinions of people that Joey would care about. Of course, a lot of other people say other rappers have been the best rapper in the world, but of the people that Joey would care about their opinions, Kendrick has been that guy since like 2013. Somebody like myself who loves Playboy Cardi is not an opinion that, Joey's probably too upset about when I don't think of him as one of the better rappers in the world. But of the people whose opinions matter to him, Kendrick is the guy right now and has been the guy for like a decade, and he wants that title. And I believe that he wants that title more than any like clout situation, even though I do agree that he does keep pursuing it because it would be beneficial for him in, a clout department. The question of does Joey deserve a response from Kendrick is just really silly to me because, like, I don't know, it just puts Kendrick on a pedestal that I'm not comfortable with. Like, bro, he's not God. He's a human being. Like, come on now. But I get where the question's coming from. And I would say if we're just speaking on a level of lyricist, of rapping ability, then yeah, 100%. Joey is of a tier of lyricist to where you can't just ignore that guy. It's not like, oh, he's just, a little homie just barking up at the tree to the big homie just trying to get some attention. No, like, he's a very capable lyricist, and he's in a high enough tier to where, yeah, you have to take that threat serious. If you're a rapper who prides yourself on your rapping ability and somebody who is within the same tier or not too far below you calls you out, I think it should be something that is worthy of a response. Now, especially for, again, these guys who pride themselves on their lyricism, pride themselves on their rapping ability. Now, if Joey was calling out Playboy Cardi to evoke the name again, yeah, I'd be like, I don't know what he expects. Cardi's not going to respond to him. For one, Cardi's way more clouded than him, and that's really what Cardi's really focused on. And also, he's just not that type of rapper, so that doesn't make sense. That's obviously a clout move. However, when we're talking about the court of rap, the sport of rap, when Joey calls out somebody like Kendrick, just taking away all the outside numbers, metrics, awards, when we're just talking about ability, this is a matchup that can be fun and that can be somewhat close. I'm not saying that Joey is gonna beat Kendrick if they beef or anything like that, but it's enough to be respectable. But then when you bring in that whole picture and we're talking about accomplishments and numbers and popularity, then yeah, there's no world where Joey deserves a response from Kendrick. It just doesn't make sense. That's like, I don't know, that's like Osama's son calling out Drake. Like, and that's so disrespectful to compare Joey to Osama's son. But you get what I'm saying. Like, just somebody who just doesn't have that same level of popularity. I'm not saying that Osama's son is comparable to Joey. Like, that's ridiculous. But you get what I'm saying. The thing with Joey and Kendrick, if you're looking at it from a Kendrick point of view or, just on the side of Kendrick, you're a Kendrick stan, you wouldn't want a Pusha T moment. When talking about things to lose versus things to gain, a lot of people say like, oh, Kendrick has nothing to gain by beefing with Joey. If he wins, he doesn't really gain anything, and then he has so much to lose. Well, I disagree with that sentiment. To say that he has nothing to gain by beefing with Joey, I think is just wrong, because if he were to beef with Joey and win, that would be another addition to his legacy. That'd be another head that he's collected. And that would add on to the narratives that he is the boogeyman and he's the best rapper in the world. That would be an addition for sure. For sure. Especially when in the circles of, rap purists or the people who are like almost nerdy about lyricism and rapping ability. Joey is a better win than Drake to most of those people, to myself, honestly. In terms of just pure rapping ability, bar for bar, who's going to win? I think that beating Joey might be more impressive than beating Drake. So it's not like he has nothing to gain from entering this beef. Of course he does, especially if Kendrick is looking at this from a pure rap sport perspective. If he's not looking at the career ramifications, the numbers, the money, all that. If he's just looking at it for what it is in terms of like the sport of rap, Joey is a great opponent, and that's a great, amazing win. Now, I still agree with people who say, obviously he has more to lose. He has mountains to lose as the number one guy in rap right now. He's the hottest guy in rap. He's probably one of the hottest guys in music, period. So I don't disagree with the statement, he has more to lose than to gain. That's for sure. But to say he has nothing to gain is just off to me. And if he were to enter this beef and lose to Joey, it wouldn't be detrimental to his career, but it would be a stain on his legacy. I'm not gonna lie, it would be a stain on his pretty much perfect legacy at this point. He doesn't really have any major stains in terms of like, a really, really bad album or like some really, really bad moments or some really, really bad like periods of music. He doesn't really have anything like that. So him losing to Joey would be that. And it would kind of allow a little bit of that Drake and Pusha T moment where Joey probably would get a lot of popularity, a lot of, buzz off the situation. He would get slingshotted a little bit in terms of like becoming a little bit more popular. So it would give Joey a bit of a bigger name. So I do agree with that as well. But I also disagree with the people who say, oh, well, Joey's just doing this for the clout and he really doesn't have anything to lose. He's already the smaller artist and people already expect him to lose. I completely disagree. He does have more to gain, obviously, than to lose, but he definitely has something to lose. Imagine if he were to lose a battle to Kendrick Lamar right after Kendrick just beat Drake. He would be another joke. He would be another butt of the joke for the rest of his career. Because again, Kendrick is way bigger than him. So he would be now known to most of the masses in rap as, oh, that's the guy that lost to Kendrick Lamar too. He would become a joke. He would become the butt of the joke. It doesn't matter how big the person is you're beefing with and how small you are. If you lose, especially in somewhat embarrassing fashion, you're going to be clowned for the rest of your career. Sure, we might not see it all the time like we saw with Meek Mill, because Meek was super hot at the time when he lost to Drake, but it would still be very damaging for Joey in the rest of his career because he would just be known as, oh yeah, that's whoa, what's his name? The bad guy, that one guy that lost to him. You know him, the guy from New York. He would be remembered like that. So it's not like he has nothing to lose here. Like, he definitely does. But obviously he has much more to gain. And Joey's already so far in his career that at this point, it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk of going and taking out the top guy, the hottest guy in rap, the guy who's, pretty much unanimously the best rapper in the world. Like, it's enough of a reward to go and take that risk with the rest of his career because he's already done so much. He's already so far in that, why not? Being the guy that took out the guy would do massive things for him and would boost him to popularity that he probably hasn't seen at this point in his career and might not ever see if something like this doesn't happen. It's kind of cliche to make this comparison, but I think it works. It's kind of like being the new guy in prison and going in there and beating up and knocking out the biggest, toughest guy in the jail. All of a sudden, everyone's looking at you like, oh, he just beat up Kendrick? Man, Kendrick been running this prison for 5 years and he just knocked him out on his first day. It's kind of cliche, but that would be kind of what Joey would be doing if he were to go into this beef. Kendrick responds and he were to beat him. In a perfectly just world, I would say that Kendrick does have to respond because of the level of lyricist that Joey is, or at least that I believe he is. But I just don't really see that happening. To me, this would be a stain on Kendrick's career, though, if he never responds to Joey. I'm not saying he's, immediately disqualified from all-time conversations. He's no longer in the GOAT debate. You can not say Kendrick's the best because I'm not saying that. But I will say, I will hold it against him. I'm not gonna lie. Now, I don't know if Kendrick really cares about my opinion and what I think of his legacy. The great I used to be Pay. I don't think he's, being terrorized and not going to bed at night because I'm holding something against him and his legacy. But I just believe that if you consider yourself indisputably the best, which he does believe he is, and you care so much about the sport and the art form that is rap, when a lyricist as great as Joey has been calling you out for over a decade, I expect you to respond. If you're really him, if you really bringing in all the smoke, I expect you to respond. The same way that people really got on J. Cole for, that whole responding and then pulling out and saying, I don't really want to do this anymore after for years he's been telling us how he's the best and nobody wants to test him. It's not the same thing, obviously, but I do view it in kind of a similar way. There's similar principles. There's similar principles there that overlap that I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm mad at J. Cole because he's been telling us he's the best. Nobody can mess with him. And then when somebody messes with him, he doesn't want to respond. Same way where Kendrick has been telling us he's indisputably the best. He's talked about his love for the sport of rap. And now when somebody wants to engage him in that sport, especially somebody that is actually great, he doesn't want to do it. I do see that as a stain on his legacy. Also, yes, for the people that are typing in the comments, I know Kendrick's on tour. I'm not saying he has to respond while he's, getting ready for rehearsals or anything like that, but just eventually respond. But the only way I see it to where it's like, oh my gosh, Kendrick has to respond now, and that public, peer pressure is really building and everyone's kind of looking at him like, Kendrick, what you gonna say, dog? You gotta say, because this whole situation has been happening for 4 or 5 months now, and you don't even feel it. Nobody, like half of Kendrick's like real fan base, like in real life, probably don't even know about this situation. I'm not saying that, like, obviously like the online fans probably know, but like you don't really hear about this, even though it is a big deal. I think that Joey would have to drop a diss track that's so like scathing, so hot, so spicy that like it's just dumb viral. Like it's everywhere. I'm talking tens of millions of views on YouTube. I'm talking Billboard charting. Like this would have to be a very big moment. It'd have to be super viral. That would be like the only situation where people would be like, all right, he has to respond. Kendrick has to respond. You cannot ignore this, bro. Like this diss tracks like you have to respond. That's really the only way I see Kendrick having to respond, because even at that point, I feel like Kendrick's fans would be like, nah, you can't let him do this, bro. You gotta go crazy. And then like the other possible scenario would be like Joey just says something that's just OD disrespectful, like crazy, and then it kind of goes viral and Kendrick has to address it. But Joey's not even that type of dude. I don't think he would do that. If he hasn't done it in 10 years now, he's never gonna be that guy who like hits below the belt just so you can finally get your little response. Like that's just not his character, at least to me, but whatever. However, if you were to put me in a position where I have to lose my life if I don't answer the question and said, you see how I put that without having to use without having to say to my head, that was a really nice way to put it. But regardless, I would say Kendrick never responds. I just don't think he's going to. Now I understand that, Kendrick ran Drake through the mud. He destroyed him on a grand scale, on an international scale. He dragged Drake through the mud, diss track, all that. Like he was going crazy. Everyone was loving it. I get that, but Kendrick's just not that type of guy. When it comes to like rap beefs, he's just not like, he doesn't engage in that type of stuff. There's a reason why Kendrick had never been in any sort of like real rap beef, real going back and forth diss tracks until the Drake one. He's just not that type of guy. Like that was a select incident. That was a moment where, yes, he wanted to prove he was better than Drake, but there was real hatred there. He really did not like Drake. That was really a character read. I hate this guy so much. He's been building up, just feeling this hate in his stomach, and he just had to let it out. That was a very specific case. Kendrick's not the type of guy to just be engaging in beefs, engaging in lyrical battles. That's just not him. You think that, Drake and Joey are the only people that have said Kendrick's name over the last 15 years? No. Plenty of people have. There's a reason why he just doesn't engage. That's just not him. That's just not his type of character. Like, I understand that, when people tell the story of Kendrick's verse on Control, it's like, oh my God, and Kendrick called out everybody. He bodied the whole industry, and everybody went and hid, and they got, in their caves, and they got in their bed, and they put their blanket on their head, and they waited for the monster to go away. But that's not what happened. Plenty of people responded to Kendrick on Control, including Joey himself all those years ago. When looking at this beef, I will say that Joey is winning in terms of like when we're looking at the main beef, which is really kind of just like Joey versus Daylight and Vaughn, even though there's 26 different people involved now. I believe he's winning, but they are giving him hell. Like they're giving him a very hard time. And I'm just going to say this about Daylight for a second. Great rapper, great bars, great battle rapper, great lyrics, great, but I just can't get behind his music. I just can't. I can't do it, man. I just can't get behind Daylight's music. I don't know what it is. I think most of it is his beat selection, but even still, I don't know, man. I can't get behind battle rapper music, like their actual music for some reason. I don't know. I can't articulate it. I'll probably do it eventually down the line, but right now, it's just, I don't really rock with it, bro. But I will say that Vaughn specifically has been giving Joey a very tough time, and this kind of reminds me of like when you have like a little cousin or a little sibling that you play in 2K and you always blow them out by like 30 every time. Like y'all load up, you ain't even look, you got your eyes closed and you beating them by 30. Like that type of little cousin, little sibling, it's just too easy. But then one of them days he wants to play you again, and you looking at you playing and you like, hold on, wait a minute, did he just call a play? Did he just run floppy to his best shooter? Hold on, did he just run a screen and roll and wait to get all the way into the lane, waited for me to jump, dribbled around, got out to the three-point line, and then shot it? Wait, hold on, wait a minute. Whoa. When did he learn to do that? And you look at the score, and instead of you being up by 25 at halftime, it's a tie game. And you like, hold on, and you got to lean forward and literally lock in, and eventually you beat him. Yes, you still beat him. You still haven't lost to him, but you kind of gain that respect. Like, oh, okay, I kind of got to take this dude serious now when we load up the game. That's kind of what's happening with Joey and the West Coast rappers, specifically Ray Vaughn. Like this, the West Coast right now, and the fight that they're putting up against Joey and I guess CJ Fly and a couple other East Coast rappers, but mostly Joey, it kind of reminds me of like the Z Fighters. If you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z, like whenever a main villain comes looking for Goku, but Goku's not there yet for some reason, he's not there. He's always not there at the start of the battle. When Goku's not there, and like the Z Fighters are fighting and trying to hold their own against the main villain, and low-key, they not doing bad. Like obviously they getting beat up, they're losing the fight, but they're just trying to hold on until Goku can get to the battlefield, and they might have some casualties every now and then, you know what I'm saying? I think that AZ kind of went out like Krillin, you know, the butt cheek bar was, yeah, man. Yeah, that was rough. I think that kind of killed him. But yeah, like they're kind of like the Z Fighters right now. They're holding off the main villain until Goku gets there. Obviously, they can't defeat the main villain, but they're buying time. What I will say about this beef, which honestly might be my biggest takeaway that I want you personally to take from this video, is that despite Joey being the winner or winning this beef, in my opinion, and in the opinion of most so far, I think that the biggest winner here is Ray Vaughn, for sure. Because I was not super familiar with Ray Vaughn before this. I couldn't name you a single Ray Vaughn song. I'm going to be honest. I ain't know nothing about Buddy. I'm going to be real. But the performance that he's put up throughout these diss tracks is very respectable. To be going back and forth with Joey and it not just be a complete wash, it's pretty impressive. And it's given me, again, a lot more respect for him. And he's become somebody that I'm very interested in now. He's caught my eye. And I guarantee you this has been a very similar effect for tens of thousands of other rap listeners, maybe hundreds of thousands. You know, he's been doing big numbers on his diss tracks, so people are paying attention. I'm sure he had buzz in Cali, but like this is a different level. And you know how I mentioned that Pusha T effect earlier when I was like, man, if you're looking at it from a Kendrick perspective, like you wouldn't want to get that Pusha T moment with Joey. I feel like Joey low-key is getting a Pusha T moment with Ray Vaughn, even though obviously he's winning and Drake lost, like, but still, it's kind of a similar effect to where like, yeah, he's building his name off of this right now. And I'm definitely going to be looking into his music way more. He was not on my radar whatsoever. But I think he's been the biggest winner because he has been putting on some very impressive performances. And I think that that's also a major reason as to why we probably won't see a Kendrick response or a Kendrick entrance into this beef, because you can see the love that some of his West Coast, you know, compadres are getting right now. Ray Vaughn doesn't get this type of love if Kendrick, you know, immediately jumps into the beef. He doesn't get this type of buzz if Kendrick's immediately there, because everyone's going to be paying attention to Kendrick, and Kendrick knows that. And I think that's really one of the main reasons as to why Kendrick's like, nah, I'm gonna let y'all handle this. Win or lose, whatever it is, y'all getting buzz out of this. Y'all building y'all names off this. And because there's also no real beef here, it's not like Kendrick hates Joey or Joey's said this or he's doing that, or, you know, Kendrick's disgusted by his character like Drake. So there's no real stakes here for Kendrick that makes him have to get into the beef. So I think he's kind of looking at this and saying, man, look at the numbers Ray Vaughn's doing. Look at the numbers Daylight's doing. Look at what Reason did on his, man. These guys are going crazy. They don't need me. They might win, they might lose, whatever, but they don't need me here. Why not let the little homie build himself up? I think that might be one of the major perspectives that Kendrick is looking at this from as well. And I think that that is part of the reason why I don't believe Kendrick's ever going to respond. I just don't see it. If he does, it'll be great. It'll be amazing. I'll be excited and I'll be here to talk about it. But I just don't see him responding. And Joey's like a rabid dog right now. Like the girl said in the intro, he's just chewing through stuff. He's just going crazy. Even if we don't eventually get a Kendrick response, shout out to Joey for just rapping his butt off for the entire year and doing it quickly. Now he's responding in less than 24 hours. So I don't know where this beef's going to go from here, but I'm going to be very interested to watch it. Hopefully it stays rap, which it has for 5 months now, which is pretty impressive. But regardless, if you made it this far, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Does Kendrick have to respond to Joey? And I just know that there's going to be a brigade of Drake fans who are going to all of a sudden be backing Joey and saying that Kendrick is scared of him. But whatever. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. It helps me out a ton. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.